can guarantee you that.
A new massive WikiLeaks dump detailing U.S. efforts to turn smartphones, smart TVs, and computers into spy tools.
It's scary. It may mean that we have another Edward Snowden inside our intelligence agencies.
I think that this is worse than Snowden.
These leaks are damaging to national security.
Deadly wildfires sweeping across 4 states. The wind-driven flames are blamed for at least 6 deaths.
Oh, spinning him out right there. Very dangerous situation. He's going to get out. He's going to try to evade police. Yeah, he's going to be tackled from behind. And he's down. It looks like they tased him.
The state of Hawaii has announced it will challenge the Trump administration's revised executive order.
I think right at the beginning, though, I should hit an issue that I know is on the minds of many, and that is controversial, so I should speak to it directly. I am a New York Giants fan.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to New York City, live from Studio E. Thank you very much for spending your day with us. We've got a lot to talk about.
I mean, first off, the big news about James Comey being a Giant fan. When you think for the longest time he might have just been a Jet fan, but now suddenly that's exposed.
Now
and
we
also,
know.
By the way, the CIA has been a hacker.
I guess FBI stands for football.
Not baseball.
No, FBI.
I know.
Football investigator.
Not baseball. I'm adding a not.
Yeah.
B for baseball.
There you go.
All right, but you know, but besides that, besides James Comey being a Giant fan, there's also other news. The CIA has gotten hacked to a level it's never been hacked before, revealing what's worse, not so much people and agents, which is bad in the short term, but practices and methods. It is devastating.
All right, so WikiLeaks releases 8,000 pages in a document releasing how the CIA hacks.
Right.
Full hacking capacity at the CIA. This is supposed to be, according to the experts, the worst leak in history.
Now here's, and these secret, we were just looking at Langley, the CIA headquarters, from one of their super secret rooms in there, they got this information about, you know, you think that your iPhone or your Android is encrypted. They've figured ways to get around that. Your smart television, they've got a program called Weeping Angel that if you have a Samsung television, apparently they can turn on the camera and you think the TV's off, and they can turn on the microphone and put it out over the internet. Here's the other scary thing. You know, a lot of the cars these days actually have features where if you get toward the line, it'll kind of move you back into your lane. There is a suggestion that somebody could hack into your car and kill you. Now, keep in mind, an assassination.
Especially these self-driving cars that they're actually putting out there as experiments, like Tesla.
That's what I'm talking about. Here's the thing. There is no suggestion in this gigantic document dump that the CIA has used this against any Americans in this country. However, if somebody has hacked into it, if the CIA has figured a way to do it, somebody else could do it too.
So when we were reading all this information, there are 5,000 people that work in the cyber spy unit. A lot of people. Yeah. Apparently, this was released by former government hackers and contractors. There is an entire unit that is devoted to hacking Apple products. So if you have an iPhone, there's an entire unit that focuses every single hour of their working day on how to get into your iPhone.
Which, if they're out there to keep us safe, which I thoroughly believe the CIA is, I feel great about it. Well, know what's bad about it? It is now going to put pressure on all these manufacturers not to do it. They now know America does it, and sometimes we do it against our allies to know the next step. Charles Krauthammer weighed in.
I think that this is worse than Snowden. It's one thing to disclose names and places and even operations, but once you're describing the sources and methods, that's the key to what we do. And you've got to wonder, all the energy that we spend on the vetting of, I don't know, Yemeni nationals trying to get into the country, ought we not be spending a bit more of our time and effort on the vetting of contractors? Snowden was a contractor for NSA. Presumably this person who's leaking or persons were contractors for CIA. This, I think, is our greatest weakness.
It is a great weakness. We should also point out that, according to WikiLeaks, the CIA recently lost its control of the majority of its hacking arsenal. So in other words, while this is all out there, the CIA has lost control of how they hack into all this stuff that has been a very effective tool.
It sets us back 10, 15 years. And he's saying it's worse than Snowden because Snowden was releasing individuals. This is worse because it's releasing the technique of how it's done.
Yeah, and what we actually garnered. But the last thing, because we have to get to Obamacare and Obamacare and what's left of it and what isn't. Two things. How did it happen, number one? And number two is they talked about how America collects malware from other countries to make it look as though if somebody's hacked, they might blame somebody else.
Sure.
And a lot of people on the Trump camp say, for those of you who are jumping to the conclusion that it's Russia, not that we're hacking ourselves, but there are methods and practices out there to believe somebody else's fingerprints at the scene of the crime.
All right, talk about Obamacare. First phase was released on Monday, and the president gave a strong endorsement of repeal and replace Obamacare. He supports it, and he hopes it passes quickly. Listen to what he said.
I'm proud to support the replacement plan released by the House of Representatives and encouraged by members of both parties. This will be a plan where you can choose your doctor. This will be a plan where you can choose your plan. And you know what the plan is? This is the plan. And we're going to have I think we're going to have a tremendous success. We have to remember Obamacare is collapsing. And it's in bad shape. And we're going to take action.
And this is going to be the bill. I mean, there are a number of... most Democrats hate it, and a lot of Republicans don't like it as well. And some conservative groups like Cleft for Growth, Heritage Action, Freedom Partners, Tea Party Patriots, and Americans for Prosperity don't like it. They would like it simply to completely be repealed. However, the way Congress works, they got to do it in 3 phases. And you've heard about these phases. The first one is the budget reconciliation thing, because with that, you only need 51 votes in the Senate, because otherwise nothing would ever get done. Phase 2 is where they look at all the regulations and they can change them at the secretarial level. And then phase 3 is where they actually write new legislation. And that is where the you can buy it across state lines would come from. But they didn't do a very good job, I don't think, in explaining that ahead of time, because when people looked at the bill yesterday, they go, hey, where's the I can buy it across state lines thing? It's not there. And then they came out, well, that's coming out in phase 3. Wait a minute. I thought it was going to be repeal and then replace. Boom, boom. No, well, 3 parts.
Also, where's the tort reform? We know how effective it was in states like Texas, where you can only sue for a certain amount. There's a cap on it when it comes to malpractice insurance, which causes doctors to raise their rates so high and cause, of course, it more expensive to go see a doctor because someone's got to pay for those costs. There's a lot of things that has to happen. Personally, I have no problem with someone introducing legislation and people being upset with it. People want to make it better and people like it. That's the way things used to be. So a lot of people is jumping on what we're about to show you and saying the GOP is coming apart. No, it's a real party where legitimate people who represent different districts disagree on a way forward. But hopefully from here, they work it out. Listen.
There are 3 plans out there. There's the Cassidy-Collins plan, which is basically if you like Obamacare, you can keep Obamacare. There's the leadership plan that was brought forward, which I believe, when you look through it, is Obamacare in a different form. And then there's our plan, the one that I think is consistent with what we told the voters we were going to do.
Conservatives have a replacement plan. House leadership has a replacement plan. I'm sure Democrats would like to go back and vote on the ACA again. Let's vote on clean repeal. The only way I think this gets done is to separate the issues.
What's been introduced in the House in the last 24 hours is not the Obamacare replacement plan, not the Obamacare repeal plan we've been hoping for. This is instead a step in the wrong direction. And as much as anything, it's a missed opportunity.
All right, so a lot of people are upset about this. You've got the Freedom Caucus there, Republicans complaining about it. But to Tom Price's point, and to your point, Steve, it's going to be broken down into 3 phases.
Not
you
to
are
my
going to
point.
have.
Let's get this straight. To his point and Steve's point.
You made a good point that I'll mention in just a minute. But it's going to go through 3 different phases. So if you don't like something, you're going to have an opportunity in Congress to give your opinion and to help fix it.
Right.
Now, Obamacare, here are the facts. Obamacare is not working. It is failing. The government cannot afford it. These insurance companies are pulling out. Something has to be done, and that might mean that some people are going to lose their entitlements. It might be more expensive. You might get 80% of coverage, and you might have to pay 20% or something like that. But the point of all these congressmen are saying, it's give and take. Yeah, we gave you entitlements, but it's not working. It's too expensive. We can't afford it as a country.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to make some choices.
Sure. It's going to take the Republicans. It's going to take a lot of guts for Republicans to do something they don't normally do. And they point to the fact, Charles Krauthammer and Brett Baer pointed to the fact last night that when the New Deal came out, every Republican was upset about it. This is too much government control. Then Eisenhower becomes president, and he leaves everything, virtually everything, in place. Because it's once you give something to somebody,
you can't take it away.
It's politically suicidal oftentimes to take it away. So Donald Trump tweeted this out because he hears Senator Rand Paul speak out. He says, I feel sure that my friend Rand Paul will come along with the new and great state health care program because he knows Obamacare is a disaster. I think that Senator Rand Paul has proven that he's going to need to get some of his input into that final plan for him to go along with it.
This is a starting point. It's a negotiation. Keep in mind, if conservatives join Democrats to defeat this new bill, which is called the American Health Care Act, it's going to wind up torpedoing the rest of the GOP agenda, including tax reform. So you're going to run on that in 2 years? I don't think so. By the end of the day, this is where they're starting at this point. By the end of the process, I got a feeling it's not going to look exactly like that. It's let's make a deal up on Capitol Hill, although today they actually start the markup, which is when they actually write the bill out in longhand.
Well, and to Brian's point, you had mentioned how they're going to get a chance, that they're going to be working together. This is how the process used to be. We need to bring it back to this. You're going to be interviewing Representative or Congressman Jim Jordan coming up, who has a problem with it, and we can ask him, what would you like to see differently, and is that a possibility? Is it going to happen?
And if you're living with Jim Jordan, please remind him.
To wake up, get dressed,
wake up and get dressed.
How many people are living with Jim Jordan?
They watch, I'm sure. He could live in a townhouse.
You never know. I think you've opened a can of worms.
He could live in a dorm. We don't know. Abby Huntsman, what are you doing?
I always say this, Brian in clothes every morning. Something. I'm just glad that you're all dressed this morning.
You know what he does during the commercial? He shops online.
I know he does. I've seen it myself. Good morning, you guys. Good morning to all you watching. Happening today, the NTSB launching an investigation into why a charter bus full of senior citizens stopped on train tracks before being smashed into pieces. First responders in Biloxi, Mississippi, cutting through wreckage to free trapped passengers. 4 people are dead. 40 are injured. Well, the bus taking passengers from a Texas senior center to a casino. Witnesses say the bus appeared to be stuck on the tracks and had been stopped for several minutes before that crash. Also, this morning, the left is already lining up to stop President Trump's revised immigration order. Today, Hawaii will file the first lawsuit to block it. The state's Attorney General Doug Shin calls it nothing more than Muslim ban 2.0. They want a judge to issue a restraining order on March 15th, just one day before the new order takes effect. No comment yet from the DOJ. And schools in at least 4 states shutting their doors for a day today as teachers refuse to work on a day without women. 3 districts and 2 schools have already said they won't be open because they can't staff the classrooms. One of the women behind the strikes, a convicted terrorist, Razmia Youssef Oda, spent 10 years in jail for her part in a 1969 bombing of a Jerusalem supermarket. 2 Hebrew University students were killed in that attack. Well, 1 minute she was shining bright, the next it was lights out. The Statue of Liberty going dark for 2 hours overnight due to a technical glitch. The National Park Service blaming the outage on an ongoing project to activate an emergency generator. The good news, though, Lady Liberty is shining bright once again. Looks so weird when she's off. It's so dark.
It does.
Some people were saying it might have been part of that protest.
Some people were saying that. I'll see you guys soon.
But they're saying no.
Because Lady Liberty is a woman, and today is Leave Your Woman at Work Day.
Right.
It's Day Without Women.
Oh,
I came to work today.
Good job.
I didn't want you to be upset. All right, coming up, more on that bombshell leak, the massive CIA security breach detailing how your phone and your TV could be watching you.
Plus, liberals tried to stick it to Ivanka Trump by dumping the brand, but their boycott just backfired big time. A huge update coming straight ahead. A stunning leak, being called worse than what Edward Snowden did and handed over to WikiLeaks, now exposing spy games within the CIA aimed at the American people, perhaps in some cases. Intel hacking capacity targeting iPhones, Androids, smart TVs, even the one you've turned once you've turned them off. This is on the heels of the president's explosive claims of being wiretapped by President Obama's White House. But our next guest says these allegations just prove the former president's true agenda. Here to explain, Washington Times columnist, Fox News contributor Charlie Hurt. Charlie, how does yesterday's sad revelations for our country's security play into what Donald Trump tweeted out as president on Saturday?
Well, I think that it reveals what a lot of people have known for some time, and that is that our ability, the government's ability to spy on everybody at all times is sort of out of control and unchecked, which is why historically we've had very strict rules about how we go about doing this sort of thing in order to protect people's civil liberties and to keep spying. And in fact, that's why we have the entire Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act in the first place, the FISA court, the secret court that is set up, that according to a report, and this is what the president referenced, according to a report for a couple of months ago, granted permission to President Obama's Justice Department to actually spy on Trump Tower. This is, forget all of the allegations about about Russian collusion between the Trump campaign and the, let's just even though they've never produced a scintilla of evidence that happened, let's just argue, just for the sake of argument, let's just say that this was legitimate. Even if it's legitimate, this is an extraordinary thing, Brian, that happened. You have a sitting president, his Department of Justice spying on a political opponent in the middle of a presidential campaign. That is a huge, huge deal. And again, maybe it all turns out to be perfectly justified and something nefarious was going on. But even if that's the case, this is an extraordinary, extraordinary thing that has happened.
You know, if Angela Merkel could, we almost have an international furor because of Angela Merkel says, America, you've been spying on me. We know Benjamin Netanyahu, the transcripts were being read by President Obama. You just wonder where this is going, and does the FBI really want to pursue it?
Yeah, no, and one of the things that I find most disheartening about it is the big argument that the former president's defenders uses is, well, the president would never do something like that. That you know, there are rules in place, you know, all that kind of thing. Well, you know, this is President Obama was somebody who politicized every aspect of the federal government. He turned the IRS, or allowed the IRS, to turn into a political weapon to go after political enemies. It's a whole new, it's a brave new world today, and it's terrifying. And you can't, I mean, this is why we have to have these these things in place to keep these people under check.
I kind of like the fact that the CIA is resourceful for our own security.
Absolutely.
You just also wonder how much we're heard now that everybody knows it. Thanks so much.
You bet, Brian.
All right, when we come back, we talk about a Women's Day organized to step out and move out and not work today. Is that a good message?
We have got a Fox News alert for you right now. At least 6 people are dead and 1 million acres burned as wildfires rage across the southern plains. Flames tearing through parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, and Texas. Fierce winds fueling some of the fires. Plus, a dramatic desert takedown. Watch this as armed robbery suspect learns the hard way you should never run from the cops because they're always going to get you.
Right, yep, here he goes, spinning him out right there. Very dangerous situation. He's going to get out and he's going to flee. He's not doing what he's told right now. He's going to try to evade police, and he has a little bit there. Oh, he's going to be tackled from behind.
He's down. The suspect, who was also out on parole, as you heard, back behind bars now after evading the police for more than an hour. But they got him. All right, Ainsley.
Thank you, Steve. Well, happening today, there's a strike, and it's organized by a convicted terrorist. It is called A Day Without a Woman, encouraging women around our country to skip work today, to wear red in solidarity, and avoid spending any money. Don't buy anything, unless it is from a small woman's minority-owned business. As a result, some schools are now shutting their doors. They're saying no school today because we don't have female teachers to come in and teach. So is this strike sending the right message? Here to discuss is radiologist, a female doctor, Nicole Sapphire. Good to see you, Dr. Sapphire.
So you can shop at women-owned businesses. Does that mean we shop for Ivanka today?
Good point. Good point. Maybe so. So what do you think about this? Are you going to work today?
Well, first of all, yes, I am going to work. As soon as I leave here, I go straight to work. Now, International Women's Day, which is going on across the globe, is an amazing cause. We have women unifying across the world, coming together for causes and issues specific to their country. And it really is an amazing thing, and a lot does get done in these different countries, from Iceland to Afghanistan. Very different causes, but all coming together unified. What's going on here in the United States is a little bit different. It's our Day Without a Woman is organized by the same people as the Women's March. And although it's talking about women and coming together as a woman, really, if you read their unity principles, which they bring forth, it's more along the democratic agenda. So if we called it a Democratic Women's Day, I think that's a little bit more appropriate.
Okay, there are 4 different school districts that are taking part in this. They're closing their doors because some of the teachers at these schools are saying, we're not coming to work. And by law, there have to be X amount of teachers per classroom. It's Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, and New York. But here's the thing. When you look at the numbers, women who can't send their kids to school in these districts. They're now having to stay at home to lose a day's of pay working, or a whole day salary. And some of these women have to put their kids in daycare or pay for babysitters. So it really hurts women in the long run.
And some of these schools are going to have to tack on another day at the end of the school year to make up for this day.
Right.
Now, again, we do have gender discrimination in the United States. We have unequal pay, and we have underrepresentation on academic boards and administrative levels. So let's come together and talk about those issues. That's not what we're doing. So having some teachers stay home and some other people stay home, we're not actually coming together on a cause that women can all fight for together.
Yeah.
And my concern is that we're not going to have a huge end result with today.
Yeah, and by saying don't shop today, you know, women love to shop. I can't imagine women not shopping. But they're saying don't shop today to prove an economic impact of how much women contribute to society. But does anyone doubt that?
Not that I am aware. We need to be recognized as women. I think everyone does feel that way. Again, the agenda behind the Women's March, the Day Without a Woman, I think we're muddying the waters. We're not necessarily talking about women's issues. We're talking more partisan issues.
All right, good deal. Thank you so much, Dr. Sapphire, for being with us. Coming up, Congressman Jason Chaffetz.
How great is that?
I hope they went through security.
Oh, they all did. First day of the tours resumed yesterday at the White House. Carly Shimkus from Fox News Headlines 24/7 joins us. That was quite a moment.
The regular old celebrity treatment, right? With those screaming fans. So like you said, yes, the White House officially opened for tours yesterday. And that was a really cool moment. The president surprised the very first tour group. Right. But in an interesting twist, that sweet moment played out. Can you see it in the left-hand side of the screen?
Yes, just saw her a moment ago. Hillary Clinton is making a cameo.
The official portrait of Hillary Clinton is where that moment played out. So a lot of people saying it looks like she was photobombing that moment.
Do you know why it played out right there? Because that screen right there is next to the elevator that comes up and down.
So there you go. So it was not it was a happy mistake, I guess.
Right.
You could say. Yeah.
So he's surprised. So cute. I just love the fact that the tour group were kids.
Yeah, it was a bunch of fifth graders, and the one that he pulled up was a 10-year-old from Alabama. Yeah, Jack Cornish, I believe his name was. And what a special moment for him to remember for the rest of his life.
What I love is they're not just like clapping; they're like screaming.
Yeah, like he's
a red carpet moment.
One Direction right there.
It's like bringing Jack.
One Direction, you can
Steve,
have
it's like when you walk into a Friday. Yeah, people go, "That's Steve Doocy."
No, not Fridays. Ruby Tuesdays.
Oh, you're right.
So anyway, there's Jack, a 10-year-old Jack from Birmingham, and one of the kids in his class yelled, "Jack, you're famous now!"
Yeah, and he sure is. He's going viral. This is going to be playing all day.
All right, so let's talk about this now. We know the size of Obamacare, but with this new health care plan is a different size when you stack it up in two separate stacks.
Yeah, that's exactly what Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price did yesterday. He printed out both plans, and he stacked one up right next to the other to show how cohesive the new bill is. And, of course, social media picked up on this. Let's get to some tweets. First, our very own John Roberts kind of explained it on Twitter. He said, and the table is for, ? And then he said, mystery solved side by side of new health care bill, left, and the Affordable Care Act, right. So Jeff tweeted, your essay versus the essay of someone who did the reading.
That's good.
And then Jessica said, my paper before versus my paper after, 12.5 times, new Roman double spacing and increasing the margins.
Yeah.
Oh my
The go-to move of anybody who's trying to get through those sleepless college nights.
He didn't read it.
Yeah, exactly.
Too big.
But he did. Tom Price did on YouTube. Remember that video of him going through Obamacare a couple years ago?
Like only a doctor can.
Yeah. There you go. And the third item, also from the White House, all these images from the White House, you had lunch. Lindsey Graham sat down with the president.
Yeah, and remember when the president did this?
So Lindsey Graham says to me, please, please, whatever you can do. Gave me his number, and I found the card. I wrote the number down. I don't know if it's the right number. Let's try it. 202-228-0292.
Well, apparently it was the right number.
It was. He was mad at Lindsey Graham. They were both competing for the nomination.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so
he
it was a
said
pretty
he asked me for money at some point.
And Lindsey Graham had to get a new cell phone.
Yeah, and he created this video of, himself destroying his phone. Well, it looks like they made amends. Yeah, this is the video. Look at all that he went through to destroy his cell phone. By the way, a flip phone, it should be noted. So maybe he, got a smartphone. So he had lunch with the president yesterday, and then he tweeted about it. He said, how good was the meeting with the president? I gave him my new cell phone number. So one time they were foe, now they're friends.
I just hope they don't get in a fight again.
Yeah, I know.
He's gonna have to get another cell phone.
He said when it comes to building up the military, I believe the president sincerely wants to do it. I think it's so smart of the president because Lindsey Graham is critical at times. So you can still come to the White House and they could still talk with you and we could still, I'll update you on what I'm really thinking.
Absolutely. A big unifying moment, to say the least.
It was indeed. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Carly Shimkus.
All right.
Thank you.
25 minutes now before the top of the hour, and Abby's got some headlines.
I do. Good morning, you guys. We do want to start with a Fox News alert. And ISIS claiming responsibility for a deadly attack on a military hospital. Just moments ago, an hours-long standoff coming to an end. Gunmen dressed as doctors setting off bombs at the gates, storming the building armed with grenades and AK-47s. The attack just half a mile from the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan. At least 4 people are dead and more than 60 people injured. New video shows Afghan commandos landing on the roof and running inside. All 4 terrorists were killed. No word if Americans are among the victims. We'll keep a close eye on that one this morning. And a new disturbing wave of bomb threats against Jewish community centers and Anti-Defamation League offices around the country. This school in South Florida evacuated for the 2nd time in just 8 days because of those threats. Now, all 100 senators are demanding action against the growing anti-Semitic threats. According to the Anti-Defamation League, there's been 140 reported threats against Jewish institutions this year alone. And Congressman Jason Chaffetz slammed by the left for saying this about health care.
Americans have choices, and they've got to make a choice. And so maybe rather than getting that new iPhone that they just love and they want to go spend hundreds of dollars on that, maybe they should invest in their own health care.
But where was the outrage when President Obama said the same thing 3 years ago? Listen.
Looked at that person's budget and you looked at their cable bill, their telephone, their cell phone bill, other things that they're spending on, it may turn out that it's just they haven't prioritized health care because right now everybody's healthy.
Well, the former president went on to say nobody wants to spend money on health insurance until they get sick. Also, this morning, liberals tried protesting Ivanka Trump by dumping her brand, but their boycott just backfired big time. According to the president of the fashion brand, since the beginning of February, the company recorded some of the best performing weeks in their history. One website reportedly seeing a 346% sales jump. Soon after the inauguration, several stores like Nordstrom dropped the Ivanka brand. But apparently, guys, the women have spoken. Who's sorry now? Who's sorry now? That's right.
No kidding. All right.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Abby. All right.
Am I the only one who didn't have a problem with what Jason Chaffetz said? I understand.
Well, if you didn't have a problem with what Barack Obama said a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have a problem with what Jason Chaffetz said.
I just said, listen, in life you have priorities. I remember I couldn't afford collision on my car. That was a decision. I wish I could, but I couldn't. When back in those days when you're on a budget, make choices. That was his point. I'll move
Collision or iPhones?
Those 2 people were getting the rap sign. I was getting it. I was ignoring it. Straight ahead. Democrats still not happy with President Trump's new immigration order.
Order is still mean-spirited, misguided, and in my judgment, goes against what America's all about.
It's so odd to see him against something the president's doing. Why our next guest says there's plenty of reasons for them to like it.
While those 2 people sit there, I'm going to read this one. And have we seen the last Hillary Clinton, the brand new update on a possible new campaign? Coming up next.
Quick headlines now. The son of former vice presidential candidate Tim Kaine arrested protesting President Trump. Police in Minnesota say Linwood Kaine, who goes by the name Woody, I'll call him Linwood, started a riot at a rally supporting our president using air horns, whistles, chants, and a smoke bomb. He has not been charged. Some tells me he was anti-Trump. And apparently they're not stronger together. Hillary Clinton's hometown city of New York says thanks, but no thanks to a possible run for mayor. The new Rasmussen poll shows 58% of likely voters want her to run, with 23% saying 58% don't want her to run, and 23% say please run, and 19% said leave me alone, I'm in a rush. Steve.
That's better that way. All right, giving the numbers that way. All right, meanwhile, Democrats still putting up a fight over President Trump's revised travel ban.
It still attempts to turn innocent immigrants and refugees into scapegoats, and still doesn't do the things that would actually make us safer. The new executive order is still mean-spirited, misguided, and in my judgment, goes against what America's all about.
However, our next guest says there's plenty of reasons for the left to like the new order. Joining us right now is former U.S. Army intel officer and former advisor to U.S. and NATO commanders in Afghanistan, Mr. Andrew Peek, joining us today from our nation's capital. Andrew, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You say there are plenty of reasons why Democrats should like the president's travel ban. Why?
Well, in a lot of ways, the president's approach to counterterrorism is very similar to the one President Obama laid out in 2008, in that it's incrementalist. You know, he's focused